And welcome to another great episode of Framing New Heights. My name is Michael Hicks. I'm your host with the most. And today we have an exciting topic. And I also have a co-host today, which I'll bring in a little bit. But to begin, I want to start with a word from our sponsor. Are you sick and tired of not being able to sleep? Aches and pains? Maybe like just cannot sleep at night? Well, you got to check this out. This new CBD oil, right? It's Amish tested, proven formula, pain relief, and you can sleep. In fact, I actually just got my girlfriend on it, and for the most part, I think she can sleep. You can all right now, if you are a Framing New Heights listener, you can go to envitamins.com and go to the checkout and get 50% off with the promo code New Heights. That's New Heights, all capitalized, and get a better sleep, quality of sleep, get rid of those aches and pains, and then just feel better and refreshed in the morning. Right? How many of you just really struggle with that? Sleep's critical as we age, for empowerment, for success, for all types of opportunities to create some momentum. And the next sponsor, oh, hi.
Oh,
And the next sponsor is Live to Thrive. What is Live to Thrive? Well, it's a life coaching formula that helps you become the best version of yourself holistically through your mindset, through your purpose, and through your body. What I do is I help you become the best version of yourself with your career, with your relationships, overcoming overthinking patterns that are maybe destructive in your life, and just help you live a joyful, peaceful life, because truly that is what life is all about. And if you're struggling in any of those particular areas, whether it's career, mindset, maybe it's relationships that you're just struggling, maybe internally you are struggling in a career focus, it all stems from this program that I have. It's called Live to Thrive. And I've got the proven formula that will change all of that for you. And I have helped so many people already become their best version. All you got to do is go to www.livetothrive.com. And at this moment in time, you might have seen her sneak in on the side profile. Come on in. My significant other, my other half, Amber Dobson. Welcome to the show, babe. How are you?
great.
All right. Today, we are going to dive into a topic that has been resonating with me, simply because I've been using it a lot in some of my strategies for coaching my clients, and is developing a priority list and developing what that in that list, what is really valuable and what matters to you. And some of the things that we are going to talk about today are extensive, but I think also it might be valuable for any of you that are listening to really focus on putting together a perspective of, writing these down, because when we can really identify what our priorities are in life, I think you'll begin to live a more purposeful, driven life. And with that, so you want me to just kind of bring in what we talked about for the priorities? What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
Yeah.
So this simple test that I do to,
Well, what do you do with your clients?
yeah, when I'm working with my clients, what we do is, first of all, I ask them to jot down what are the most meaningful pieces in their life. And when you work with me as your life coach, one of the biggest pieces that I embark on is, I will tell you this right now, it's spirituality, is discovering your purpose, having a relationship with God. For me, it's Jesus Christ. And so some of them are, I'll just list them right now as I'm looking, because I don't want to make sure that I don't mess them up. But, and in no order of importance right now, we'll maybe talk about them, how they should be of importance to you in your life. But God, self, career, family, finances, significant others, values. And did I miss anything else? I feel like I missed something. But is that it? I think that's it. And then maybe if it's not, we'll jump on and bring that in. So I think one of the biggest things is when you are on this discovery channel of prioritizing what truly matters in your life, is writing them down in order of importance from greatest to least. I think that's where you have to start. And when you can start from that perspective, I think that can help you gain some more clarity. And when you have the power of clarity, you're able to easily define your priorities, which then helps you eliminate any distractions or things that I call outside noise that align to your true value and purpose. For example, and maybe we don't really have a script here. We kind of have some notes. But here's my thought: is if you and your significant other are on this growth journey together, and you have outlined, let's say something happened within amongst your friends, and then that conversation comes into the couples, and you guys begin talking about it.
Okay.
The first question that I would ask is, where does that fit on our priority list? Is that something that we need to discuss that's going to create a negative energy into our space, or is it going to provide some positivity? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, as far as a priority,
Yeah, what are your thoughts on just priorities and why you think that's important, and does it provide balance? Does it provide positivity in your life? What
well,
do
I
you think?
think it's interesting when just the word priorities sounds like you said. I think it's interesting when you say priorities and labeling them from like least to greatest. And I think that's a good exercise to do because like at work your boss will often say like this is a priority. Well, you have like 100 priorities,
Hmm.
and so like what's number one and what's number 100.
Yeah.
But I think the important thing to remember is like there's not like each priority isn't equal. So when you say
Mm-hmm.
like from least to greatest, and then when you're using that example of this like issue with friends in their relationship and like bringing it into us, like where does that fall on our priority list?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends. Like, is this a friend or a couple that we are very close to, or is this like an acquaintance? Is this someone that we care about, that we spend a lot of time with, that we want the best for, that we like feel very connected to, that we want to help? That might be a really like high priority on our list to
Well,
help. I don't know.
I see your perspective. I look at it like this, and in our household, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm going to get to what you had just said, but our central piece, and I'm going to share this immensely to all of you that are listening out there. You're not going to discover joy if you're chasing external things from our society. I'm just going to tell you that right now. If you don't have God as your priority piece, meaning how, like, we have this hunger for food, right? Our body naturally has this distinct, like, we just had some cheese and crackers before we got onto the podcast. It's like our body craves food, but what is more important than even food and nourishment is spiritual nourishment. And that could be from a biblical reading to a Bible verse to a devotional to prayer to watching church online, going to church physically in person. I think that is got to be your primarily center point. And from there, it kind of is like a web, so to speak. It kind of then expands from there. I think for me, then the follow to that is self. And some people would say marriage or relationship should be your second. And for me, I let my clients do that. For the majority of my clients, what do you think their answer is for number two?
Family.
Yeah, they'll put their family as number two.
I would too.
And here's why I tell you not to, okay? Because you need to make sure you're good. Going back to the spiritual piece, right? Everybody's on these growth journeys and these growth trains and all of this stuff, okay? Family is generally right there. But if you can wake up an hour or two before your family does,
Hmm.
and you do
I
this,
do.
yeah, you do this. This is why self is number two, is you have to make sure that you're good. Going back to the spiritual piece, before you can make sure everybody else is good. It's the old analogy that I always use, and I do this on my journey calls, is when an airplane mask, when you're on an airplane and the airplane masks deploy, the first thing we should do is not put it on someone else. You put it on yourself first.
And it's funny because the flight attendants, all, well, at least on Southwest, they always come around and remind the
Yeah, the
mothers. They don't
parents.
remind the father. They literally,
Ha ha ha
they
ha.
don't. They come over and they're like, "Are you mom? Put it on you first. Put it on you first." They just did this when, where did we just fly? Puerto Rico. They
Yeah,
just did this.
yeah.
And I think it's a good reminder. Um, because my instinct, and well, I think any parent's instinct, I'm not just saying mothers, would be get their kids taken care of first. But in reality, you won't be able to do that. You won't be able to save your kids if you're dead.
How can you, and we'll get into all these other pieces that go into that. How can you be a good coworker? How can you be a good significant other? How can you be a good husband? How can you be a good wife? How can you be a good parent if you are not number two? Now, now here's one of my biggest struggles in the church that I belong to. They'll say God first, family, and they the church talks about how we should be last. But it also it's kind of like a double edged sword in a sense, because but it talks about that God rested on the seventh day. Like, we need to naturally rest and take care of ourselves before we can be good for anybody else. I truly believe that, and from the time frame that I've been on this planet, which has been for almost 70, well, 72. I was gonna say 72 years. For almost,
Wow, you just jumped 20
yeah,
years of
20
your
years.
life.
Um, for almost the length period that I've been on this planet, and I lost my train of thought because my notes just went off on my phone. um, yeah, jump in, jump in.
Well, let's, you were talking about your church and how they say that self should not
Yeah,
be
yeah, it should be a
up there.
last, and I struggle with that humanly. I struggle with that immensely because I know if I don't get adequate sleep, and Amber knows this, if I don't get sleep, like there's usually on Sundays where,
It's
yeah,
kind of a
I just do
mess.
nothing. I do nothing. I shut down.
But okay, let's argue that a bit. I think maybe that's your priority. That doesn't need to be everyone's. Self doesn't need to be everyone's priority.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
I mean, I think you have to invest in yourself, though.
I think you do too, but
Yeah.
maybe it doesn't need to be number 2 for everyone. Maybe it can be number 3. Maybe it can be number 5.
Yeah. And the reason why, those of you that are listening, why to do a self audit, and you should do this exercise. I'm going to tell you, it's very powerful with your significant other. We're actually going to do something that's, I think, really monumental and really cool that I want to share. I'll share here in a second. But when you're able to do all of those things, when your priorities are aligned and and you have them visible where you can see them, it then really dictates your decisions. We're doing another trip. We obviously have our priorities as together. Like, we need to spend time together. That's very valuable to us as a couple, as a growing couple. And
Some people might think that's true. They might say, "Wow, you guys have taken a lot of trips
mhm.
recently."
And we've taken one with our family, and now we're taking one just with us.
And I've taken a girls' trip in between that.
Yeah, and I haven't. I'm gonna take. I don't take girls trips, but I'll take a guy trip.
You don't want to take a
I
girls'
don't
trip.
want to take a girls trip. I'll probably take my guy trip. We've talked about this probably in July. I'll go up to the Hudson and
But those things are my priorities. My priorities are
exactly.
friendships and quality time with him and making memories with my family. And so it just so happened that they're all falling in 3 consecutive months, but so be it. Like, that's not like to get caught up in external noise, right? Like, that's
Yeah.
not
Yeah. But you have to be careful to get caught up in external noise because I just recently had, you know, like outside noise, meaning news, meaning what's going on in the United States. And I know we're streaming in different countries, but there's this whole big thing that of these tariffs that are entering into the United States. And I had a client recently that I talked to about this, and he's like, "Oh, I'm so concerned about this. It's going to affect me. It's going to affect." And I said, "Does it affect you right now? Do you have a place to sleep? Do you have food on your table? Do you have a place to put your car, which is like a little house?" Like, we got to get that simple for our priorities. And going back to what I wanted to talk about is we're going to be doing this, and maybe I think we should do this today. Um, but we're going to do a 5-year letter to the
Each
other person,
other.
yeah, to each other, of like where we see ourselves,
A relationship.
or we sell ourselves and the relationship within 5 years. Like, where are we and what are we doing? And it's going to be so cool to open that up and see that and see how. I think that's a really vital. I think you came up with that idea, which I
I
think
did.
which was an awesome
I
idea.
actually saw it on Instagram, so like let's give credit where credit's
Yeah,
due.
yeah. However, but like I think like when you visualize and you talk about this stuff and you're about this stuff happens. Like, it truly, truly happens. And um, you know, yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, my girlfriends and I were going. We talk every day um, via an app. They're the girls that I just took a girls trip with, and we were talking about priorities. And one of them is very career driven, and two of us we have careers, but we are not as driven by our career. And I think that's okay. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I think everyone has innate um, drivers that makes them who they are and what makes them happy. For example, I want a career that gives me a meaningful life, that gives me balance in my life so that I can do the things I want to do and feel success, but also be able to be a really good mom and be a good partner. Um, I know that there's people that their career they want big things in their career. They want big to make big changes. They want to lead people. They want to make new leaders. Like that fuels them. That makes them happy. And so in like your career, like your business, that is what drives you. Like that gives you purpose. That gives you meaning. Like so that's like a big priority for you.
Mm-hmm.
So like and so but that if we did a list, your career I think would be higher than my career number.
Or maybe, yeah, maybe. I have it. I probably have it. So if we are, um, wow, that's interesting. I have God first. I have self second. I have family three. Um, those are my top three. Um, I mean, followed by career, probably finances. But I want to go back to going back to why I put myself as number two, because I don't think I really clearly identified it. Is is there's always a misconception out there that if you are doing this, or that you're selfish if you are number two, or does that make sense? And like the reality is, and you have a cup, right? You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot be your best self emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, to anybody else effectively. And not only self, like I have a regiment on my fitness. My fitness is a very big piece of my life. And I want to just say this is I am time managed. And when people say they don't have enough time, no, all get 168 hours in a week. You don't know how to time manage effectively. You just went for an hour run today, and I was filming it the entire time, and I was just there for support. And that's another thing too, for those of you that are listing your significant other or marriage or whatever, as far as priorities go. How are you supporting them now? Most men, what would they have done? They would have stayed and laid their asses on the couch and maybe had a beer, watched the game while you were out running. Or maybe they did something in the garage with the man stuff, right? Or they cut the grass, or they
And that's
did a
okay.
project. I guess, but I don't know if it's okay, because I think this is why relationships fail. Because again, it's time management. Time management. That's number one. Okay. Number two is, you if they've got goals and aspirations. I know when we were first dating, I was like, hey, I got this business that I'm building, and I cannot have any
Mm.
distractions. And you were like, I'll help you. I'll be part of it. And that really took a lot for me. You remember that, right?
Yeah, so are you like reciprocating a little bit?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
it is reciprocations, because it's about their goals, it's about their priorities, it's about how
Yeah.
like, this would be another thing. If someone is on a diet, right?
Ah,
Right?
yes.
If someone's on a diet and then they're binge eating on crap and cookies and ho hos and ding dongs, and
Yeah,
the
it's true. Or
significant
it's
other is just
like,
sitting right over
and
by
it's
you,
like,
like.
oh, it's not my diet. That's your thing. And it's like, no,
But
that's
there's
not
but
really nice.
Right, there's no alignment there, and I
Yeah.
think that's where issues arise.
Well, now we're talking about like, so priority list Amber, priority list Michael. Can you have different priorities in a relationship? And how do you communicate that and make it work?
That's why you do this exercise. This exercise is a simple exercise that you write down. What are your top 10? Like, if you were to even ask couples, I guarantee 20 years, 15 years, 10 years, they would be like, I don't know. I know he likes to go play basketball. I know he likes to do X, Y, and Z, but you don't know the order. And then how do you build that bridge? Because
Yeah.
that's the other piece too. And
Well, I know for you, like yourself, yes, is number two. But I will say, like, when you, when I think people hear that, they're like, again, noise a little bit, like, oh, that they may think that's selfish, but it's not like you're taking 24 hours to yourself. You're literally yourself. There's certain things that are a priority for you to be your best self: sleep
Mhm.
and making sure you work out and take care of that, because those make you
Who I am.
who you are.
Here's the term self respect, right? How can I treat myself if I don't treat myself with respect? How can I treat you with respect?
Right.
How can I treat my career with respect?
Right.
I respect the fact that I am on this growth journey with the Bible, that I'm reading the Bible in the morning. I make sure that I'm spiritually feeding my soul verses and things that I have questions about as a human being. Luckily, I have a spiritual guide, and she's amazing. That's Mother McCoy, and I ask her questions about it. But it comes to self, and then I go work out, or I'm listening to that when I'm
Right.
working out. They like.
So I think, and I don't think that you need to convey or justify why you're doing that for you and someone else might not be. And I think that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, that's your priority, that's what you do, and that's okay.
Well, and you had mentioned, I talked about this about career, is how many are you that are listening out there? How many of you are truly aligning your work with your values instead of like just chasing financial freedom, right? How many of you go to your job that you absolutely despise or hate, and it doesn't align with who you are? It doesn't align with your purpose and your choices that you've made. And, that's one thing I remember, you know, being in the education system as long as I was, oh, you're just the gym teacher, right? Or you're just the dean of students, or you're just the basketball coach. Well, that I struggled with that, and I was like, man, I can provide so much more value to so many different people, and provide a service that'll help other people become their best selves. Um, you know what I mean?
I have very different opinions on that
Yeah, let me hear it.
because I think every job matters. I've always thought this. Like, I don't know if it's because I'm a social worker, but I do think like you, it's that whole saying, like, do you live to work or do you work to live?
Mm.
And I think someone that wants to align their values with their work does live to work. Like they love it. Like that's what they want. I I don't do that.
But that's the
Uh,
that's the issue though.
and
Like,
no,
because
no,
no, but let me just
no.
say this: we were watching this show, and this husband is like, I won't be home. I got to stay at work. Like, where again the priorities, right?
Yeah, that's what
Like,
I'm saying. I'm not like that. And I don't want, I think that every job matters, whether you're a custodian or a garbage person
yeah, you're
or
right.
like you're bringing value to something. You might not think that, oh, I go home, I just do this job day in and day out. But yeah, you're a productive member of society, you're contributing to the greater good, you are bringing home a paycheck and making a living. And I think that is providing value. Now, that's my thoughts. The other person might not think that, or you might not have thought that when you were doing things. And that's why you have created a business where you feel better about the impact that you're making.
Yeah,
But I feel very different about that. I think that I don't think necessarily that your job has to make you feel that you're
I
providing an
think I'll
impact.
say this. I think for you to get true meaning and satisfaction out of life, that it has to align with your morals and your values and who you become. And
I think you can do other things to do that.
so you say hobbies would fit in,
Yep.
but the majority of your time, say you're 9 to 5, then what do you say to the individuals of I'm speaking from a male perspective because that's what I can speak from, that have a 9 to 5, they come home to their family,
Hmm.
which is a next talking point that I want to talk about. And because their job sucks so much energy out of them and they don't know how to prioritize and change that mindset and that perspective, they don't communicate to their significant other. They don't play with their kids. They drink beer. They watch TV and they go to bed and they repeat this vicious cycle all over again. That's the person that I help.
Yeah. Well, they need to figure out their life then. Like they need to either accept that their job is a job that's they need to change then. Like you have to accept, okay, my job, my career is a job that I chose and I like it because it brings me a paycheck. Okay? Or I'm going to find something else that I like more that gives me more value. You internally have to make that choice.
Yeah,
That's where you help people make that
100
decision,
percent,
right?
100%.
Like that individual, those are individual choices that someone has to make.
Well, and let's talk about that because family, I will tell you this, a family should be in your top priority list because of who's going to be there when something awfully happens. Maybe it's something that was turmoil or something just ugly and bad that happened in your life. Your family is going to be there. Your
Hmm.
family is going to be there through the thick, the thin, the bad, the
Yep.
ugly, the indifferent, the good, the bad, all that stuff. So, for those of you that what I maybe just said, are you being present where your feet are? Because I'm telling you, I look back and I see my daughter. She's 10 now, and I see how much 10 years have gone. And if I'm lucky, she'll be with me in the house for 8 more years, and then college or whatever. And I don't think college is for everybody. I think there's a definitely
Yeah.
more to do out there than just college. But whatever it might be, is you know intentionality is so important. Over an obligation and saying that you have to work. Like, I'll never forget. My daughter said this to me. She's like, Dad, when I'm sick, I don't. I only want you and Mom to watch me. Now, obviously, for those of you just jumping on this podcast and just don't know who Michael Hicks is, but I'm obviously divorced and for quite some time, and now I'm dating Amber, and I have 50-50, and I get my daughter at a certain amount of time, and so does her mom. So she said to me, because there's a moment where, no disrespect, but she just doesn't want anybody else around her when she's just not sick. So
When she's just when she's when she's sick, she doesn't want anyone else around
yeah,
her.
what did I say?
When she's not sick.
Yeah, when she's sick. Yeah. So the priority is being there for your family over your job.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell you all, it doesn't, and I see this with huge leaders and people that are impacted, and like head, like from CEOs to superintendents to principals to people that are in the government, high officials. I can't. They say I can't.
It's
And
that
that's and I
is such
stro-
bullshit.
it is
It
so
is.
sad, because you live a life. And I want to share this quick story here. Two colleagues of mine, one individual who I coached against and then became really good friends with, they they waited till their 50s, then they're going to sit and retire. Well, she gets cancer in retirement. You waited your whole life to get to retirement, and you forced your work and you did all this extra time, and now you're supposed to ride out in the sunset, but then you get cancer. So my point to all of that, you got to really prioritize. Go on the vacation.
Yeah.
Go on the vacation. Take days off. If you need a mental day, take a mental day.
Well, it's just interesting because you know, you you have to like anything in life, you have to prove yourself. You have to show that you are a valuable asset to your company, your partner. Like I had to show you that I'm going to be a good partner to you. Like I'm going to be someone that you can
She's a
trust,
great partner.
that you can
Best
count
partner I've
on,
ever had in the
that
time I've
you
been. That's true.
But where I work and have worked, I have had to, your reputation is what matters. And you got to show up as your best self every day because that follows you. And I always say that. I coach girls and I say, how you show up matters. How you show up to practice matters. How you it matters. And I read somewhere, like if you have a job where you're able to go to all your kids' stuff, leave
Mm-hmm.
early to
Mm-hmm.
pick them up, you are making it.
Yeah,
And
100%.
that
100%.
is so valuable
Yep.
to me. Like, I don't want a job anymore where I have to say, no, I can't. I have to stay at the office till 5, or I have to stay here because
Yeah.
someone just told me I had to.
Yeah. Yeah.
For what?
Uh, it,
For
it,
what?
and I'm going to tell you all, when
We
you
have phones. We have email on our phones. We can take calls remotely. Like there, yes, there are client focused positions. I know this. Have been in them. I get that.
but there's no award anymore. Remember the old school? I worked for 33 years and I never took a day off in my life.
Yeah, there's no
That
award for that.
What is the point? what does that get you? Did that get you more time with your family?
No.
And I love what you said. Those abilities to go to games, go to conferences. I used to be that guy though. Oh, no, I gotta work. Oh, I gotta work. I gotta work. I can't. I can't. I don't. I don't. It's senseless. It's because time. As I've gotten older, is time. We don't get it back, y'all. There's no going back and doing a redo.
I went to this, my boss and I talk about this. I love my boss, by the way. If she ever listens to this, she's amazing. We went to this lunch and learn about a woman in technology, and she made it big. She like went up the chain. But one of the things she said, she was so excited to be a grandma. She was almost, maybe she was like up in her 50s. And she's like, I'm so excited. My daughter's going to have her first baby. And she said, I'm so excited to be a grandma because I get to do the things I missed out with my kids on.
Mm, mm.
And my boss and I looked at each other and we're like, we don't want that to be us. Like, our kids are the same age. And we're like, we don't want to miss those things. We're here now. Like, why would we look back and be like, oh, I'll just do those things when I'm a grandma? No,
How do you know you even get that though? You
exactly.
don't even know.
That was like very eye-opening to me.
Yeah.
Like, was your career success like that worth it for you to say in this meeting with all these women that you're going to redo this
Mm.
as a grandma? I thought it was a
But
terrible thing to
that's my
say.
point. Yeah, it's a horrible thing to say, and I appreciate you saying that because it brings a lot of perspective on what we're talking about here. Is the past is what you can learn from. The present is a gift. The future is something to think about. I think that's truly where your mindset should be. Yes, we're doing this 5 year letter that which is cool, right? That there's nothing wrong with that. But being present in the moment, being where your feet are, and that's sometimes a really hard thing for so many of us to do. And and parents, I just want to say this last thing about the family piece, and then we can move on to the next piece is you know one thing with family and creating family bonds and is we were watching the show last night and this lady was just talking and she's like, well, significant others they or marriages people have secrets. I think in my time frame of being on this planet and understanding is when you can develop a trust factor with your significant other and be vulnerable with them and share with them your deepest secrets, the things that you did in your past and defining who you are. I think it develops a more beautiful bond between the two of you. And I think then there's like nothing, like you have nothing to hide and nothing to, and it's such a reassuring feeling.
It's like weight
Ah,
lifted. Like,
it's
oh,
unreal. Yeah. And I think that's absolutely powerful. So, finances is a big priority, and in people's lists, I guess some would probably maybe put it up there in the top three. And I want to just say this, and I want to maybe throw it over to you: is use money as a tool and not for purpose. Obviously financial literacy helps you because it impacts your area of life. You can go do different things, you can travel. I have a goal of mine that I want to be able to work wherever I want to work, go to be whatever island I want to be on, and I can have my job, and my job is right here in front of my computer, and I can be in front of a lake or be on a beach or wherever it might be. So I think use that as a tool, but not as a purpose. Does that make sense?
mhm.
Yeah, yeah. Um, any thoughts on the finance piece?
No, I think finances, I mean, just for me, I have a lot. Finances for me is not a priority. I put more stake in just being consistent
Yeah,
with that. If I get too caught up in that, I start spiraling
she
a little
does.
bit.
Yeah,
So
I got to bring her in, you guys.
I yeah, it's not good. My financial picture changed a lot when I got divorced, and
I think ours, we all did.
yeah,
Mine did
so
too.
um yeah, I think, I mean, if you know, you know, like divorce isn't cheap and all the things that come with it, and just lifestyle changes and some not lifestyle changes, right? And, your kids can't be impacted by your divorce, and or you don't want them to be, and life goes on. So, yeah, I don't put that as a priority, but I definitely it's a tool.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love it as a tool. I think
Yeah.
that's what we leave it at that.
Yes.
Let's go a little bit about the priority list about our significant others. Many would call that marriage or partnership. Um, we can kind of title it as maybe partnership over possession, and the difference between love and dependency, right? Choosing a partner who really complements you, you do, and not completes you though.
Oh.
And because think about
Oh,
this, because
I wouldn't have thought that.
yeah, because if
I do think you complete me. Is that
well,
bad?
but you want to almost no, it is because think of it from this perspective, because if you complete them, they never grow, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, so you want to get to a point where okay, you got the rest. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, like and we have really, I think, to align a lot of our visions and our goals that we have together. We talk about them often. We talk about, we, this is probably on repeat, maybe for those of you guys that are regular listeners, but we have monthly goals and things that we talk about. One of the biggest things that you talked about with your family was prayer, more prayer with your
Hmm.
kids, and aligning those values and missions and visions because of who we are becoming. And I think that has a really strong connection. Um, you go ahead.
I think for me, a priority in our relationship is definitely time and consistency. I need a lot of validation in our relationship, and he knows that. And it, I think part of it is the distance, but I also think we've made a lot of, I think, sacrifices in our relationship.
Well,
Like,
yeah.
you know,
Well, one of the things was we were going to live together, and we just knew that that wasn't going to work after knowing the
yeah,
support that you have in Waukesha versus out here in Ozaki County. It would have been a huge, huge derailment of, I think, would have added more stress into our significant others' lives and to our kids on top
yeah.
of that. So, and I want to jump in here for those of you that are couples and you're listening. We talk about this often is you'll never know. We don't know tomorrow. We don't know if we get it or not. We hope, we pray, and I know you don't like me saying that, but we don't. We really, really don't. No one knows. No one knows tomorrow. Nobody does. That is why it is monumental for those of you that are in relationships and marriages and things of that nature. Say goodbye, kiss them, and say I love you. That's a daily commitment is something that what if you never get that back? What if that feeling that you had, you then live with that internal regret the rest of your life? It's a thorn on your side that you can never get back.
It's interesting because I think many of us tell our kids every day, like, I love you, have a good day, and they say it back. And we would never think that like, we would get upset if our kids didn't say it back. But why do we not say it to each other? Like, that is the foundation of the house, right? Like, parent,
Yeah.
partner, like,
Well, love, that's the connection that brought you two together, and that's the daily commitment that you should be doing, and not a kiss on the cheek, y'all. Like, what are you just passing, like you in Europe and stuff, and that's how they kiss? They kiss on the cheek? Like, that's just not how it works. Show love as a daily commitment because you don't never know if you can get it back. Um, And if you're one of those people that are listening to this and be like, that's just not how it goes,
Make it how it goes.
you control your relationship.
Yes.
Like love is something that it's not just a feeling. It should be a commitment. It should be communication. It should be trust. It should be support, like an unshakable partnership that you guys have that is forever. And their relationships are never win lose. What I mean by that is there's going to be discrepancies. There's going to be issues where the things don't always you'll agree on, but
There's
you
like non-negotiables, right? Like, you know, when people get married, everyone makes these speeches, like
yeah,
always like kiss each other
yeah,
before you
yeah,
go to
yeah,
bed or never go to bed
yeah,
angry.
yeah.
Like the that's why they have those speeches, because these are the things that
I forget.
really people do forget. And that's if we really honestly listened and all went back to that, maybe things would be better. I
Better,
don't know.
better.
Like
Gosh.
everyone thinks they're corny and kind of silly, but at the end of the day, those are little things that mean a lot. I mean, literally, we talk to each other. It's kind of like our good morning, like kiss goodbye or kiss good morning is like we call each other.
Hmm.
We say good morning.
Or a good morning text when we
Yeah.
get,
And that's something that means a lot to us. And if that didn't happen, I would be like, what's going on? What's wrong? Like,
yeah,
what
it's just
happened?
out
Yeah.
of the normal but that's because we made love a commitment. One of the biggest things that I strive for at my age is when I was in the dating field is something I was like, I am sick and tired of being in these relationships that provided no value for me, no love, no commitment. Yeah, I thought it was, but I've learned through all of this. And I said, well, I need to find the right person that aligns with me. But I got to tell you, it takes a relationship, it takes work. And what I've realized is when you don't you've put in a half-assed job of work, that's what your relationship is going to be. It's going to be a half-assed relationship. So you got to put it in as much as you want to get out of it, and to be happy and joyful. Last topic I want to talk about today, and we'll call it a day, is the values. And I know we didn't really get on that too much today, but you know, values are a compass for our everyday decision, right? Statistics show that if you listen to Christian music for 30 days, it's going to change your life. Maybe it's not Christian music, maybe it's worship. Let's just call it worship music. Maybe you are reading from the Bible app and you read one Bible verse a day for a month. Watch how that will change your values and morals. And you'll realize that when you start listening to the secular music, yeah, it might have a good booty bumping music sound to it, but then you hear the words and you're like, dang, that's a little messed up. My point to all that is when you know your values, you'll live your values. And when you know and live your values, then what comes out of it? Actions, your actions. And one of the biggest things I know when you talked about when we first started dating was, you know, are you going to say what you mean? Are you going to do what you mean?
Yes.
And that is me 101. If I say I'm going to do it, it gets done.
Yes.
It's a delivered because men that are listening out there, your word is your bond. You know, someone may say, oh, I'm going to talk to that person one day. I'm going to talk to him. I'm going to talk to him. 3, 4 months go by, they never talk to you. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that, and how that kind of the values kind of compass your decision? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I just think when values like like I said before, like showing up as the best version of yourself every day. Like we want to always put our best foot forward as much as we can. Sometimes we have bad days and that's okay, but
No, we don't have bad days. Stop with that. You
Well,
get bad moments.
bad
You
moments.
have bad days when you don't know how to change that bad
Yes,
moment.
this is what I'm saying. You can have a bad feel. You can feel yucky, but you got to know how to deal with that, right?
Many
Like,
don't. Many don't. They have bad
well,
days. They have bad. That's why Live to
yes.
Thrive can help you. Just
There you go.
plug right
There you
there.
go.
Go.
There you go.
Yeah.
But we in my family, we need to figure out how to handle those days and do our very best to be kind and to be respectful and to show up as our best self. We need to do things that make us happy and smile and say, I'm sorry if we make a mistake. These are things that are part of our value system. Praying more often and showing up and giving God our time and being grateful. These are all things that are part of my value system, and just being like a good person and being honest and genuine and helping others.
You know, there's two things when you're struggling with. Amber called it a bad day. You never have a bad day. You control that day. Remember that. But here are some tactical things that you can simply do. I'll tell you this right now. Purposely laugh. Like do it laugh for like 7 seconds. Watch how you feel. Take the inventory on how you feel at that specific moment. And the other one, I did an entire podcast on this. You can go back and look and listen to it. I did it with, I think, Coach Glover at the time was with me, and it's a breathing. Learn how to breathe effectively. Michael, you're crazy. I'm not. It works. It truly, truly works. If you know how to effectively breathe, it will change the way you think. And then you add some gratification in there, some I am statements, all that stuff. But again, that's an entire different podcast. We talked about all those. You can go back to the library and check it out. I want to say this here. If you are in this growth journey and you're wanting to learn more about stuff, when was the last time you self-audited your life? Where are your time suckers? Where's the negative energy coming from? Are your values, when you do this, are they aligning with who you truly want to be, your true version of yourself? I like to say, I like to live the person that I'm going to be 5 years from now. Okay. So I have goals, I have aspirations, I have things that I have been manifesting, that I live, who I dress like that, I live like that. That's who I am. Um,
Well, do this activity. Do the priority list.
Yeah, that's a great way to segue to
Done.
finishing up here. And let me just say this here: the last piece on values, the 5 people that you surround yourself with are who you are. So if you got someone that's got like 3 DUIs, does drugs, doesn't show up to work on time, well, maybe not on time, doesn't show up to work, maybe he's a really poor parent, but you hang out with them. Oh, they're funny. You're a product of those people. So maybe that's an incentive to audit yourself. Maybe check your values on that. And we recently had a discussion about, not to get too personal, about just people that are we surround ourselves with. Like, do they align with who we are? Do they align with who we are becoming? And if don't, you can always love somebody from afar. Does that make sense? You can definitely love them from afar. So until next time. Thank you so much for listening. If you truly like this podcast, my name is Michael Hicks with Framing New Heights. We provide value to people that are in all different countries. I believe we're streaming on 8 different countries right now. So thank you so much for continuing to support, love of Framing New Heights. Truly like it. Hit 5 stars, share it with 5 of your friends as always. 1% better in mind, body, and soul. Stay flexed.